The war did not start with noise. It started with a quiet that felt wrong. Deep in the black, near the edge of a dead star, the combined fleet of the Galactic Pact drifted in tight formation. Thousands of ships hung in space like a metal storm held still. Blue engine lights pulsed softly. Long lines of carriers and cruisers formed the shield wall. Behind them, supply ships and rescue craft waited like nervous shadows. At the center of the line was the human flagship, HSS Resolute. Captain Ryan Cole stood on the command deck with his hands behind his back. He watched the tactical screen as if it were a window into the future. His crew moved fast and quiet. They had done this before, too many times. Humans were not the biggest. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced. But when the enemy came, humans did not run. The enemy had many names across the galaxy. Some called it the Swarm. Some called it the Ancient Hunger. Humans just called it what it was. A killer. The Swarm did not negotiate. It did not threaten. It simply arrived, broke worlds, and moved on. It was made of living ships and cold metal, a nightmare of sharp angles and endless drones. The Pact had tried to stop it for years and failed. Then humans joined the fight. They did not bring a miracle weapon. They brought something else: stubborn courage, dirty tactics, and a refusal to quit. They took losses and still held the line. They learned fast. They adapted faster. That was why the Pact had asked humans to lead this battle. Captain Cole knew it. Everyone did. On the main screen, the dark space ahead shimmered. A thin distortion spread like a stain. The Swarm was close. It always arrived the same way, space itself bending then tearing open like cloth. Contact in 30 seconds, the sensor officer said. Cole nodded once. All ships, hold formation. Weapons hot. Do not fire until we see the core ships. A voice came through the fleet channel, smooth and confident. It belonged to High Admiral Vass of the Pact, a tall silver-skinned alien who spoke like every word had been practiced. Human Captain, Vass said, our fleets will follow your signal. The galaxy watches. Do not fail. Cole kept his tone calm. We won't. The distortion grew. The first swarm drones spilled out, small, fast, and too many. They moved like insects, turning in perfect unison. Then the larger ships appeared. They were massive, shaped like broken spears and jagged bones, glowing with sick green light. The air on the bridge felt colder just from seeing them. Now, Cole said, front line fire. The human gun spoke first. Rail cannons punched bright streaks through space. Plasma batteries followed, hot and white. The packed ships joined in with cleaner beams and wide energy arcs. Together they tore into the first wave. The swarm answered. Drones rushed forward like a flood. They slammed into shields, clawing and exploding. The fleet shook with constant impacts. Warning lights flashed. Crew members called out damage reports. Still the line held. Cole watched the map. The swarm tried to push through the center. That was normal. It always looked for a crack. Bring the carrier group forward, Cole ordered. Keep the medical ships behind the second line. Copy. The battle grew louder, faster. On the main screen, an Allied cruiser split in half, its shield failing for a second too long. A human destroyer rushed to cover the gap, taking hits meant for others. Humans always did that. Cole leaned forward. Signal the packed left wing. Tell them to tighten. They're drifting. The comms officer hesitated. Sir, they're not responding. Cole frowned. Try again. Still nothing. Before Cole could speak, the tactical officer's voice rose with sudden fear. Sir, packed ships are changing formation. Cole's eyes narrowed. The left wing of the packed fleet, 3 heavy cruisers and a line of frigates, pulled away from the swarm. They rotated, not toward the enemy, toward the human carriers. For a single breath, Cole thought it was a mistake. A bad update. A glitch. Then the packed ships fired. Bright beams punched into the side of a human carrier. The shields flared, screamed, and collapsed. The carrier's hull lit up from within, then split open. Debris and fire scattered into space like burning confetti. The bridge went silent for half a second. Then chaos exploded. What are they doing? Someone shouted. Friendly fire, friendly fire. Cole stepped forward, voice sharp like a blade. All ships, defensive pattern. Protect the carriers. Do not return fire until I confirm. Another blast hit. A second human carrier erupted, its hangar bay opening like a wound. Cole stared at the fleet channel. Admiral Vass, he said, low and dangerous. Explain. Now. The reply came instantly. No panic. No shame. This is not a mistake, Vass said. It is necessity. Cole's jaw tightened. Necessity? Humans have proven too effective, Vass continued. Too adaptable. Too willing to do what others will not. When this war ends, you will control the balance of power. The Pact will not trade one extinction for another. Cole's fists clenched. Around him, his crew looked stunned, then angry. You're killing us in the middle of the battle, Cole said. We are removing the future threat, Vass replied. The swarm will be handled. Stand down and accept judgment. As if on command, more Pact ships turned their guns. And in that moment something worse happened. The swarm saw the opening. The human carriers had been the backbone of the line. Fighters, drones, rescue craft, shield support. With them burning, the center weakened. The swarm poured in like water through a broken dam. The Pact did not notice at first. They were too busy aiming at humans. Cole watched the tactical map and felt his stomach drop. Red warning markers multiplied. The swarm was inside the defensive wall now, cutting into supply ships, slicing rescue craft, ripping through anything unprotected. The galaxy's shield had been human steel, and it was cracking. Cole turned to his crew. His voice did not shake. Emergency jump prep, he ordered. We're pulling out what we can. The navigator stared. Sir, the jump gate is damaged. If we jump now, we die, Cole finished. If we stay, we die slower. He looked at the burning carriers on the screen. He looked at the Pact ships still firing on humans. He looked at the swarm rushing in behind them, hungry and unstoppable. Captain Ryan Cole spoke one final command into the fleet channel. All human ships, he said, fall back to Rally Point Echo. Save who you can. Leave nothing useful behind. His eyes hardened. And remember this day. As the human fleet broke away, the Pact ships held their proud line, convinced they had won. Behind them, the swarm surged forward. And the galaxy, for the first time in a long time, became helpless. The jump was rough. The human ships tore through the damaged gate like metal scraped across bone. The stars stretched, twisted, then snapped back into place. For a moment, everything went dark. Then the emergency lights came on, and the HSS Resolute floated in a cold, empty system with a red dwarf sun. Captain Ryan Cole did not breathe easy. He watched the damage report scroll across the bridge. 2 carriers lost. 4 destroyers gone. Hundreds of fighters wiped out in minutes. And worse than the numbers was the reason. They had not fallen to the swarm. They had fallen to allies. Behind the Resolute, the remaining human ships arrived one by one, limping in with broken hull plates and smoke leaking into space. Some had no engines. Some had no comms. One cruiser drifted in silence, its bridge blown open to vacuum. Cole stood still as the fleet took shape around him. It was smaller now, but it was alive. Captain, the comms officer said, voice tight, incoming message. Wideband. Pact emergency channel. Cole's eyes narrowed. Put it on screen. The message came with static and panic. Not from Admiral Vass. From a different voice, young, shaking, and clearly terrified. This is Commander Sale of the Pact 3rd Fleet, the alien said. We need assistance. The swarm, it broke through. Our line is collapsing. We request immediate human support. Repeat, we request. The message cut out. The bridge fell silent again, but this time it was not shock. It was cold anger. A weapons officer laughed once, short and sharp. They've got nerve. Another crew member muttered, they stabbed us and now they want a bandage. Cole did not speak right away. He stared at the empty space where the message had been, as if the silence itself could explain how the galaxy became so foolish. He already knew the answer. Fear. They feared humans more than they feared the swarm. Because the swarm was simple. It only killed. It did not change rules. It did not challenge pride. It did not make leaders feel small. Humans did. Cole turned from the screen. Status of our ships? The tactical officer's voice was steady but grim. We have 14 combat-capable hulls. 3 cruisers, 9 destroyers, 2 frigates. Ammo is low. Shields are uneven. Half the fleet needs full repair. Cole nodded. And wounded? 712 injured across the fleet, the medical officer reported. We're using cargo bays as triage. Cole closed his eyes for 1 second. Then he opened them and looked around the bridge. Send salvage teams, he ordered. Collect anything that followed us through the gate. Fighters, pods, broken hulls. We take our people home even if home is just a metal deck. The crew moved. Not fast. Not smooth. But they moved with purpose. Because humans did not sit and cry. Humans worked. Hours passed. The red dwarf sun stayed low and dim, casting weak light across their battered ships. Repair drones crawled over hulls like ants. Engineers welded plates. Medics moved between rows of injured. The fleet turned silence into labor. Cole walked the ship. He did not hide in his chair. He passed the hangar deck where burned fighters were stacked like bones. He passed the mess hall where crew ate in quiet, faces gray with shock. He stopped at the medical bay where a young pilot, barely 20, stared at the ceiling with empty eyes. "What happened out there?" the pilot whispered when Cole approached. Cole did not lie. "We were betrayed." The pilot swallowed. "So, what now?" Cole's answer was simple. "We survive." That night, Cole met with his senior officers in a small briefing room. A flat table. A single screen. No speeches. No banners. Just humans who had seen too much. Lieutenant Mara Vance, the intelligence lead, placed a data chip on the table. "We pulled this from a wrecked Pact frigate," she said. "Before it exploded. It was trying to encrypt and dump its memory core." Cole leaned forward. "What is it?" Vance clicked the screen. A file opened, then a second, then a chain of messages. Dates. Names. Quiet meetings. Policy drafts. And one repeated phrase. Post-war human containment. Silence fell like a weight. Vance's voice went low. "This was planned. For years. They built the alliance, let humans bleed, then decided to remove us before the war ended." A navigation officer shook his head slowly. "They used us as a shield." Cole stared at the words until they blurred. Then he looked at his team. "They didn't just betray humanity," he said. "They betrayed reality." Vance nodded. "There's more." She opened a video file. The screen showed a chamber lit in pale gold. Admiral Vass stood with other leaders around a hollow map of human worlds. Their faces were calm like traders discussing cargo. Vass spoke, voice sharp and clean. "Humans adapt too quickly. Their war doctrine is chaos. They will not accept a place under Pact command. When the swarm is contained, we must act. The battlefield provides cover." Cole watched without blinking. Another leader asked, "What if the swarm breaks through after humans fall?" Vass answered without hesitation. "It won't," he said. "We have enough ships." Cole paused the recording. He looked around the room. Every face was tight with rage but also something else. Understanding. They had all seen the swarm. "Enough ships," Cole repeated quietly. Then he stood. "Tell me something," he said. "How long did our line hold before the betrayal?" The tactical officer answered. 17 minutes. We were winning." Cole nodded. "And how long did the Pact hold after we left?" No one answered. Because they already knew. The comms officer spoke softly. "We're picking up distress pings. A lot of them. Whole sectors are going dark." Cole turned back to the screen and unpaused the last frame of the video. Admiral Vass's calm face, frozen in perfect confidence. Cole's voice was controlled, but it carried heat. "They thought humans were the threat," he said. "Now the galaxy will learn what the real threat looks like." Vance folded her arms. "So what do we do?" Cole walked to the hollow table and activated a star map. The nearest Pact systems blinked in blue. The swarm front was a red tide spreading across lanes like blood in water. "We don't rush back like dogs," Cole said. "We don't beg. We don't apologize for surviving." He pointed at a narrow corridor of space between two unstable nebula fields. "We go here," he continued. "We build a trap. A kill zone the swarm can't ignore. And while the Pact is bleeding, we gather proof of the betrayal and broadcast it." The navigation officer frowned. "And the civilians?" Cole's eyes hardened. "We save who we can. That's what humans do." Then his voice dropped. "But we don't save their leaders." A new signal pinged on the comms board. Another wideband message. This one was not a commander. It was a civilian station. The screen filled with a grainy image of a crowded shelter bay. Families pressed against walls. Children cried. The camera shook as alarms screamed in the background. A desperate voice spoke through tears. "This is Haven Station," the speaker begged. "We were told the Pact would protect us. They left. The swarm is here. Please, anyone, please." The video ended in static. Cole did not move for a moment. He felt the room watching him. Then he spoke, and it was not a speech. It was a decision. "Mark the coordinates," he said. "We move at first light." The officers nodded, one by one. Because even after betrayal, even after loss, even after the galaxy showed its worst face, humans still chose to stand between the innocent and the dark. And far away, across the broken front line, Admiral Vass and the Pact fleets fought alone. They had wanted a galaxy without humans. Now they were getting it. And it was falling apart. The corridor looked empty on most star maps. That was why Captain Ryan Cole chose it. 2 unstable nebula fields pressed in on both sides like dark storm clouds, and between them ran a narrow lane of clear space. Old miners used it long ago. Smugglers used it sometimes. War fleets avoided it because sensors got confused there, and signals echoed like ghosts. To humans that sounded perfect. The battered human fleet arrived in silence. Engines stayed low. Lights stayed dim. The ships moved like hunters, not heroes. No proud formation. No bright banners. Just survival and intent. Cole stood on the bridge of the HSS Resolute and watched the nebula glow like bruised fire through the forward view. Feels like a bad idea, one junior officer muttered. Mara Vance heard it and gave a dry smile. That's how you know it's a human plan. Cole did not smile. He was thinking in straight lines and sharp edges. Report, he said. The tactical officer answered. We planted the beacons. 3 decoy signals are active. Each one reads like a full carrier group. Good, Cole said. And the salvage drones? Ready, the engineer replied. They're loaded with scrap plating and old reactor cores. Once they light up, the swarm will think it found a feast. Cole nodded. Humans did not have the cleanest tools. They had the tools that worked. Out in the corridor, small human drones floated like dead debris. They looked harmless. They were not. Each one carried a simple system. A burst beacon, a jammer pulse, and a small explosive charge. Nothing fancy. Nothing elegant. But in war, elegant was overrated. Cole tapped the holomap. We don't beat the swarm by trying to be stronger, he said. We beat it by making it clumsy. A destroyer captain spoke through comms. And if the pack shows up? Cole's voice stayed calm. Then we remember their favorite word. Necessity, Mara said. Cole glanced at her, then back to the map. Exactly. Hours later the first signal came. A faint distortion at the edge of sensor range. The space shimmered. The air on the bridge felt tight again, like someone had lowered the ceiling. Swarm inbound, the sensor officer said. Multiple contacts. Cole leaned forward. How many? The officer swallowed. Too many for a scouting wave. On the screen red markers appeared. Drones first, hundreds then thousands. Then larger shapes followed, jagged and wrong like broken knives. They moved into the corridor, drawn by the decoy carrier signals. The swarm did not think like humans, but it did have habits. It liked weak targets, liked easy meals, and it liked finishing a kill. Humans were giving it all 3. Hold fire, Cole ordered. The human ships waited inside the nebula shadows. Their heat signatures were masked. Their comms were silent. Even breathing felt too loud. The swarm pushed deeper into the lane. Drones swarmed around the decoy beacons, scanning, tasting space with invisible sensors. Then, as expected, the core ships drifted closer. That was what Cole wanted. Now, Cole said softly. The corridor woke up. Decoy beacons flashed, then exploded, throwing bright heat into space like baked meat. At the same time, human jammers fired a wide pulse. The swarm drones stuttered for half a second, just half. It was enough. Human destroyers surged out of the nebula and opened fire at point-blank range. Rail cannons slammed into swarm hulls. Plasma lances cut through drone clouds. Missiles screamed, then split into smaller missiles, then smaller again. The swarm tried to adjust. But humans did not let it breathe. Rotate the pattern, Cole ordered. Keep them turning. Don't let them lock on. Human ships moved like blades. They slid past swarm ships, firing sideways, then disappearing back into the haze. They used the corridor walls, the nebula edges, and the enemy's own chaos. A swarm cruiser tried to swing its massive body toward the Resolute. Cole did not dodge. Front cannons, he said. 3-shot burst. Aim at the spine. The guns fired. The rail slugs hit the same line, one after another, cracking armor like glass. The swarm ship tried to pull away, but Mara triggered a magnet net. Salvage tech turned into a weapon. The net snapped onto the damaged spine and held. Then the human missiles found the wound. The swarm cruiser broke apart in slow motion, spilling drones and molten pieces into the corridor. Nice, the weapons officer said. Mara lifted an eyebrow. Almost like humans know how to fight. Cole stayed focused. We're not done. On the tactical screen, a new marker appeared, bigger than the others. It moved differently. Not like a beast charging. Like a brain arriving. Captain, the sensor officer said, voice tight, we're reading a control node ship. It's coordinating the drones. Cole's eyes narrowed. That's our target. Mara leaned forward. Boarding team can reach it. If they plant the pulse bomb, the drone network goes blind. Cole gave a short nod. Send them. A small human boarding craft launched from the Resolute. It flew low and fast, hugging the shadow of a dying swarm ship. The swarm noticed too late. Drones chased it like angry sparks, but human escort fighters sliced them down in close combat. On the boarding craft, Sergeant Jax Marin checked his team's gear. No fancy speeches. No dramatic vows. Just tightened straps and steady hands. They latched onto the control node ship and cut through its hull. Inside, the swarm ship was cold and alive at the same time. The walls pulsed like veins under metal skin. The air was thin and sour. The floor felt like it hated being stepped on. Marin signaled his team forward. They moved in short bursts, using corners covering each other. They did not pretend the enemy was human. They did not wait for it to act fair. When a swarm of blade drones rushed the hallway, the humans used a simple trick. They threw a small light flare. The drones turned toward it like hungry insects. Then the humans dropped a pressure mine. The hallway became fire and sharp metal. Marin's team kept moving. They reached a chamber where the ship's control core floated like a black heart. Green light pulsed from it in slow waves. Drones outside suddenly shifted pattern as if listening to this heartbeat. Marin pulled out the pulse bomb. Planting, he said. His hands did not shake. Outside, Cole watched the drone patterns flicker on the tactical screen as the boarding team reached the core. If the bomb worked, the swarm would lose coordination. The trap would turn into a slaughter. Then another signal cut through the bridge. A new transmission. Not human. Not swarm. Packed military channel. The screen flashed. A familiar face appeared, High Admiral Vass. He looked tired now. His smooth confidence had cracks. Behind him, alarms sounded. Lights flickered. The background shook with impacts, but his voice was still proud. Human Captain, Vass said. Stand down. Return to the front. We require your assistance. Cole stared at him like he was watching a bad joke. You fired on us, Cole said. Vass's eyes narrowed. The situation has changed. Mara let out a soft laugh. Of course it has. Vass's voice sharpened. This is not the time for emotion. The swarm is overrunning packed sectors. If you do not comply, your species will be marked as a hostile faction. You will be hunted. Cole's tone stayed even. You already hunted us. Vass leaned closer to the camera. Humans are not the center of the galaxy. Cole's reply was quiet. No. But we were the shield. For a moment, Vass said nothing. Then his face hardened again. We will take what we need, he said. If you will not return, we will seize your ships and crews by force. The transmission ended. The bridge went still. Mara looked at Cole. He's coming. Cole nodded. Yes. Before anyone could speak again, the tactical officer shouted, Captain, massive warp distortion. New swarm contact. The corridor space rippled. The nebula light bent like it was being pulled into a hole. A shape emerged that made every other swarm ship look small. It was a command core, an enormous, armored structure surrounded by rings of drones, moving like a dark planet with teeth. And it was heading straight into the trap. Cole's jaw tightened. All ships, hold positions. Boarding team status. Marin's voice crackled through comms, strained but clear. Bomb is set. 30 seconds. Cole stared at the incoming command core on the screen. 30 seconds. The command core was already close. And somewhere behind them, the packed fleet was likely racing toward this corridor too, angry, desperate, and armed. Cole took a slow breath. He did not pray for luck. He prepared for consequences. Everyone, he said calmly, whatever happens next, we finish the job. The countdown began. 30, 29, 28. And the galaxy waited to see what humans would do when the darkness grew too big to ignore. 10 seconds, Sergeant Marin said. His voice came through the Resolute speakers like a rough heartbeat. On the command deck, Captain Ryan Cole watched the swarm command core drift into the corridor. It filled the tactical screen like a moving fortress. Rings of drones circled it in perfect order like iron moons. The trap had been built for something big. But this was bigger. 9, Marin said. The human fleet held position inside the nebula shadows. Engines low. Guns aimed. Fingers ready. No cheers. No speeches. Just quiet focus. 8. The swarm drones swept forward, sensing the hidden ships. They turned, corrected, turned again. The jammers were still biting at them, confusing their coordination. 7. The command core moved deeper into the corridor, following the decoy heat signatures. It believed it was closing in on weak prey. Humans were very good at looking weak. 6. Mara Vance stepped beside Cole. If this doesn't work. It works, Cole said. He did not sound hopeful. He sounded decided. 5. On the tactical map, packed ships appeared at the far end of the corridor, blue markers moving fast. They had followed the signals too. Maybe they thought the humans were hiding. Maybe they thought there was something to steal. Or maybe they were just desperate. Cole did not care which. For, Marin said. The command core began to pulse brighter. It was sending orders through the drone network like a heartbeat sending blood. 3. Cole leaned forward. All ships, he said quietly, aim for drone clusters. Do not waste shots on armor until the network breaks. 2. The packed fleet entered the corridor fully now behind the swarm. Their formation was messy. Their comms were full of noise. They were scared and angry at the same time. 1. Then the pulse bomb detonated. There was no fireball. No loud blast. Just a sudden white-blue flash that spread through the command core like lightning inside glass. For a heartbeat, everything froze. The drones around the command core stopped moving as one. The swarm network went blind. On the tactical screen, red markers flickered. Then chaos began. The drones started to drift, bump, collide. Some fired randomly. Some turned in circles. Some slammed into each other as if they forgot what space was. The command core tried to correct them, but it was too late. Its control spine was damaged. Its voice had become a broken whisper. Cole's voice snapped across the human channel. Fire. The human fleet erupted. Rail cannons roared. Plasma lances burned. Missiles streaked through the corridor like angry comets. Human ships pushed forward, not in a clean line but in a rolling wave. Hit, move, hit again. Without coordination, swarm ships became slow targets. Humans turned that weakness into a slaughter. A destroyer slipped close under the command core's hull and fired straight into an exposed vent line. The hull cracked open, spilling molten debris and half-formed drones. Another cruiser planted a magnet tether and yanked a swarm cruiser into the command core itself. The swarm crashed into itself like an animal biting its own legs. The packed fleet, watching from behind, hesitated. For the first time they were not leading. They were not judging. They were simply seeing. They saw what happened when humans fought without limits. They saw that humans did not need permission to win. High Admiral Vass's voice burst onto the shared channel, sharp and shaking. Human captain, he shouted. Cease fire. This corridor is packed territory. You will allow packed command to take control. Cole did not respond. Mara opened a private channel. He's scared, she said. He doesn't want anyone to see who saved them. Cole's eyes stayed on the battlefield. He made his choice. A new swarm wave tried to enter the corridor, but their drones hit the broken network and fell into confusion again. They slammed into debris fields. They drifted into mine clusters. They fired into empty space. Human traps snapped shut. One by one, the swarm ships shattered, burned, or went dark. The corridor became a graveyard of jagged metal and glowing dust. Then the command core, wounded and furious, began to charge its main weapon. A giant ring on its side lit up, drawing energy like a storm gathering lightning. It aimed not at the humans, but at the packed fleet behind it. A final act of spite. Packed ships panicked. Their formation broke. Their comms became screams. Cole saw the weapon charging. He saw the civilians they had abandoned. He saw the billions who would die if the command core fired. He did not hesitate. Resolute, full thrust, he ordered. The bridge crew stared. Captain, that's a suicide run. Cole's answer was simple. Then we'll survive it. The Resolute surged forward straight at the command core, engines roaring like a living thing. At the same time, human destroyers followed, creating a moving shield wall around the flagship. The command core fired. A beam of green-white energy stabbed across the corridor. It hit the Resolute's forward shields and ripped through them like paper. Hull alarms screamed. Metal buckled. The ship shook so hard crew members slammed into consoles. Cole gripped the railing and stayed upright. Hold, he shouted. The human fleet poured every spare unit of power into the Resolute's shields, into its armor, into anything that could keep it together for one more second. The beam weakened. The command core faltered. Because humans had done what humans always did. They suffered to buy time. The Resolute reached the command core. Fire all forward cannons, Cole ordered. At point-blank range, the Resolute's rail cannons punched deep into the command core's spine. Missiles followed into the wound. The command core's glow turned unstable, like a sun about to collapse. Sergeant Marin's voice came through again, weak but steady. Captain, we found something. Pact tracking codes. They planted them on us. They wanted the swarm to follow. Mara's eyes widened. They didn't just betray us. They tried to use the swarm as a leash. Cole's face went cold. Record that, he said. Send it to every channel. The command core began to break apart. Cole's voice cut through the storm. All human ships pull back. Now. The fleet reversed hard, engines flaring. They cleared distance as fast as damaged ships could. Then the command core exploded. Not like a bomb. Like a collapsing star. A shockwave ripped through the corridor, smashing swarm wrecks, scattering drones, and knocking packed ships sideways like toys. Lights went out. Systems crashed. Panic filled every comms channel. When the wave passed, the corridor was silent. The swarm was shattered. And the galaxy was still alive. For the first time since the betrayal, the packed fleet did not speak with pride. They spoke with fear. Vass's face appeared again, pale and furious. Human captain, he said, you will hand over your data and return to pact control immediately. Cole looked at him like he was staring at a dying old lie. Instead of answering, Cole pressed a button. Mara's evidence went out on every open broadcast. The secret meetings. The containment plan. The attack orders. The tracking codes planted on human hulls. All of it. Across the galaxy, screens lit up. On stations. On planets. In shelters. In command centers. Billions watched the truth in real time. The public reaction was instant. Pact leaders were shouted down on open channels. Civilian worlds demanded arrests. Fleet crews refused orders. Officers turned their guns away from humans and toward their own command ships. For the first time, Vass looked truly surprised. He had thought humans could be erased quietly. He had thought the galaxy would accept it. But people could forgive weakness. They did not forgive betrayal. Cole watched the comms feed explode with outrage and fear and relief. Mara spoke softly, almost to herself. They wanted a galaxy without humans. Cole's voice was quiet. Now they know what that looks like. He turned away from the screen and faced his bridge crew, tired, bruised, and still standing. We're not taking their throne, he said. We're not becoming the monsters they imagined. His eyes hardened. But we will never be their shield for free again. The Resolute's alarms kept blinking. The ship was wounded. The fleet was small. Yet the galaxy had just learned something it could not unlearn. Humans were not the danger. Humans were the difference. And out in the dark, where new threats would always rise, one truth remained simple. When the galaxy broke, it was humans who held it together.